No
I'll go ahead
problem.
and start the recording there for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Damon, I really thank you for your time today. We're called Dope Nostalgia, and we're a show about things that happened in the 90s and what those artists are doing today. So when I wanted to do a
Oh,
show about Brother Kane, I was like, let's do this if you have the time.
yeah. Listen, it's cool. I mean, there's been a lot that has happened since the Brother Kane days.
Mhm.
Um, so it's always fun I mean, none of the things that have happened since, I guess, Brother Kane broke up in 2000, like end of 99, early 2000.
Mhm.
Had it not been for Brother Kane, none of the other things that have happened since then would have ever happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been a very important stepping stone at that time. How did you guys find each other in the beginning?
All the guys kind of came from the music scene that was happening in Birmingham, Alabama. I grew up in a small town about an hour and a half north of there.
Mm.
And I moved to Birmingham, I think it was 1987. And it was awesome because there were so many great venues, tons of places to play, a couple of rock stations in town. And it was just, I mean, at that time period, I'm sure you know yourself, Naomi. I mean, rock music was the dominant cultural force.
Yeah.
And so if you played rock music, if you wrote songs and made any recordings, even in a town in the middle of Alabama, you could move the needle a little bit, at least locally. And that's what was happening for us. And um, there was a bit of a revolving door in the beginning, even down to me becoming the singer. I never had any intention on singing.
Hmm.
Through the years, I would sing a couple of cover songs to give the lead singer a break. If we were doing 3 sets
Mhm.
in a club on some night, but so that was a bit of a change right there. So the band that I had, like 1990, I started with a band that was starting to showcase, and we got the attention of some record labels. The songs were pretty good, but at that point, I was just a guitar player. So about a year later, through working with the label and working with my manager, we couldn't find another singer, so I became the singer as well. So we changed a couple of other members, and I just remember going out to the clubs in Birmingham. This would have been early 91, I guess.
Mhm.
We had a development deal with Virgin Records. We weren't called Brother Kane yet. Already had my bass player, Glenn Maxey, and we would go out and just see other bands, and it was almost more of a social thing. It's not like we were, hey, we got to find some other guys. We were hanging out, and that's when we saw Scott Collier, who ultimately became our drummer.
Mm.
He was a tremendous, still is a great drummer, and kind of head and shoulders above the other guys. A lot of guys at that time period, no surprise to you. I mean, they all wanted to be Tommy Lee in the MTV videos, and that's not what we were looking for. and,
Yeah.
and Scott was a musician's musician, and we definitely definitely what I was looking for. So that worked out great. And then Roman, so Glenn Maxey was the bass player, and I saw Roman playing bass in another band, and I just thought, wow, that's the coolest guy on stage I've ever seen. He was like this mix of like part Duff McKagan, part really more like Cliff Burton from Metallica. I mean, that was his whole vibe.
Wow.
And we started hanging out, and I was like, man, I wish you were in my band, but I don't need a bass player. I need a rhythm guitar player. And I said, would you consider playing rhythm guitar? And he goes, well, I don't play guitar. I said, well, I'll teach you. I'll show you how. You certainly look and sound great playing a bass. I bet you with a little time, you could get up on the guitar. And that's exactly what happened. He would come over to my house, and, so he transitioned to the 6 string. And so that first Brother Kane record, we recorded it in 92, came out in 93. Roman was on rhythm guitar. Glenn was on bass, and then Scott was our drummer.
That's unreal because you always hear it the other way around where the guitar players become bass players because you can't find any bass players.
Yeah, it's
You know?
weird. It's so weird. It was totally, you're right. It was totally the other way around. And, you know, a lot of amazing things happen really fast. And over the course of the last 2 years of the pandemic, Naomi, I've done a few interviews. I put out a new record the first of last year, and I got a great team. And, you know, they brought a bunch of people in that, you know, talking about that record and kind of revisiting my past. And, you know, and with the coronavirus, we all had nothing but time. We're just stuck at home. We couldn't play shows or anything. So there's been a few, you know, walks down memory lane, and it's really been kind of fantastic to revisit, particularly the origins of Brother Cane and the things that we did in the beginning. Because again, for some guys from Birmingham, Alabama, I mean, there'd never been any real rock bands from Alabama. You know, famous Alabama artists were like the Commodores and Emmylou Harris and Hank Williams Jr. And of course, his dad, Hank Sr. And, you know, there were things here and there, but I mean, you know, August of '93, we had the #1 rock track, the #1 mainstream rock track in the country with Got No Shame. We were on tour opening for Lynyrd Skynyrd and Bad Company. And shortly after that, we went out with Robert Plant. Early '94, we're out with Aerosmith. I mean, it's just,
that's huge.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy. And at the moment, things were happening so fast, and we were just all
Oop.
your life. It consumed everything. You couldn't write a check and make that kind of stuff happen these days. So we were very fortunate, and it was a lot of fun. It was great.
Wow. I hope you didn't notice there was a little bit of freezing that happened there for a couple seconds, but everything seems to be back to normal now.
Oh, okay. No,
on
I
the Zoom.
didn't notice. I
On the
didn't
Zoom.
notice. I've been able to see you the whole time. So maybe,
Okay.
hopefully it's, I'm sorry if it's on my end.
Oh, no, that's okay. It could be mine. So either way, it's good. Don't worry.
Well, I kicked both the kids off the video games.
The
Of course,
video games are funny because they take so much internet, don't they?
No, it's bad. It's really bad.
During that decade, was there any pressure to change your sound because grunge had become into the forefront of everything?
Great question. There was no pressure. I know that we as a band, we loved what was happening in music. You got to remember that it's not like we had been this contained unit that had been writing songs and performing and making records for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. You know, we all kind of came together. And if you think about the timing of, you know, we signed our record deal in '91, wrote some more, recorded in '92. Well, right about then, that's when Nevermind came out. So we had established our direction with that first record. I was so consumed with Guns N' Roses, those first 3 records of theirs. The Black Crowes were from just down the interstate in Atlanta. And their first 2 records were also seismic for me in the band. So those were kind of our modern touchstones, you know, the records that we would listen to and be like, wow, yeah, that's cool. If we're going to sound like anybody, I wouldn't mind those influences sprinkling in with all of our other like typical stuff, Aerosmith, Zeppelin, Van Halen, you know, Lynyrd Skynyrd, all those kinds of musical influences. The Crows and Guns N' Roses were like, yeah, I'd want to be in those bands. No one else but those 2 bands. So when particularly Nirvana and Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, we loved them. We thought they were amazing. We loved the songs. I especially was very affected by the lyrical content because I'd already struggled, I think, early on. It's like I just didn't like writing songs about the typical things you were seeing on MTV. Again, at that moment, the whole hairband thing it had really started to eat itself, and it was just a caricature. The bands were kind of like cartoon characters, and that's cool, you know.
Yeah.
And if you're in those bands, I'm sure it was fun. I'm sure, I mean, how can you, I can't imagine being in, I forget the name of the band right now, but they were all wearing like matching white leather outfits and, you know, flipping their hair around. And it's like, well, you couldn't pay me to do that, but I'm sure they're getting paid and having a great time. So
It just got, the cheese factor got so high that
yeah,
it seemed like it was less about music.
Yeah, and look, I would never say, oh, we were above that. Come on, again, we were from a very out of the way state like Alabama. You know, Atlanta had a real scene. You know, obviously Los Angeles and New York, those were real music scenes. We were just kind of doing the best we could. And there's no question you're influenced by what was on MTV. It was still the cultural, you know, kind of the zeitgeist. Everybody's watching MTV every day.
Yeah.
And so that was affecting the record companies. It was affecting the A&R men. So I don't want to get off subject from your original question, Naomi. So when the grunge thing happened and these other bands started to reach critical mass, we were very excited about that. So if you put your headphones on and really listen to the first Brother Kane record as a body of work, and then flip over and listen to our second album, Seeds, that came out in 1995, you can hear some of that influence from those other bands. I don't know that our musical sound changed. You know, we were still just guys playing Les Pauls through Marshall amps, and you know, we weren't. There wasn't like this big, you know, fuzz tone Melvins, Caius. Certainly not like a Nine Inch Nails digital, you know, thing. We weren't doing any of that. You could still hear the Bad Company and Deep Purple in what we were doing, but the lyrical content, big time, took a, you know, it took a leap. What I felt like was forward into a better direction. And honestly, I kind of, all the songs I've written on into the rest of my career up to the last two records, it's more of a good fit with what we started to do on the second record, and especially our third album, Naomi. Wish Pool came out in '98, and ironically, we actually recorded Wish Pool in Seattle at the amazing London Bridge studio. That's where Pearl Jam recorded 10, Alice in Chains recorded there. I know they did the Temple of the Dog record there when Cornell put that band together with the other guys. So I don't know that, I think the fact that we could transition a bit, it definitely helped us. 1995, we had what was really our biggest hit single, which was And Fools Shine On.
Yes.
That did not sound like anything that had been on the first record. And I know that all the hard work we had done at radio over the previous 2 years, then when we came to radio with this new song, it was a perfect fit sonically for the other things that were happening, because now the mainstream rock stations were playing Smashing Pumpkins and Stone Temple Pilots, the Toadies. You know, our song fit perfect with that. And, you know, I'm sure you could find some people that were like, oh yeah, I love that first record, but then they went all grunge and I don't care about that. Maybe there was some of that, but I don't know. Fool Shine On was such a good song. I think we kept all of it.
Good song.
I felt like we kept most of our early fans, and then we started to grow that audience a little bit. Yeah. And
you had all those touring opportunities that were quite exciting. Of the 3 albums that you put out in that decade, what would be your personal favorite?
I think as a body of work, I would have to say the third album, Wishpool. It was very much a grown-up record. You know, we were all going through a lot in our personal lives. We'd been on the road constantly, and it's just inevitable that that's going to take an effect on your relationships at home.
Mhm.
And it certainly did for us. And I was, between the things that I was going through with my first wife and just trying to find a way, like, well, can I stay married? Can I do this for a living? And literally I was going to counseling, and I was certainly making an effort to right that ship and find some kind of balance and work it out. You can hear that struggle. It's in Technicolor
Yeah.
on that Wishpool record. And in the years since then, I can listen to that record almost as a music fan now, and it's very I don't want to say instructive, because I never, I think that's too broad of a word, but there's no question that you can relate to those songs. They're written from a place of human growth, human struggle, trying to be a better partner, but really still not having the tools in your toolbox to do that properly. And it's not a shiny happy people record, but just a beautiful record. The songs are fantastic. The melodies, the vocal melodies were great. I co-wrote a lot of those songs with my old friend Marty Fredrickson, who was really important. Yeah, Marty's so important to the success of Brother Kane, Naomi. He always kind of laughs and goes, "Yeah, man, you discovered me. You're the guy that put me, on the path forward." And I guess in a way that's true, because Brother Kane was the first co-write he'd ever had that was actually getting on the radio, and it brought Marty the attention that he certainly deserved. And by the time we put out the Wishpool record, he was starting to write with Aerosmith. He was writing with Ozzy, and his ship was sailing at high speed by that time. So that was great. Yeah.
When an album's that personal to you, and the songwriting is like a therapy almost for what you're experiencing in life, is it hard to look back and listen to the album now, like this much time down the road, or is it more like, hey, look how far I've come?
What a great question. Definitely it's a pleasurable listening experience now. And I do hear it and I go, yes, look how far I've come, and look at what a huge leap forward I had made in just 5 years. Like I said in the beginning of our talk, I was not a lead singer. I was focused purely on being a guitar player, writing riffs, writing chord progressions, trying to create a melodic bed, a musical bed for a singer to come in and partner with me. And then that guy would write lyrics that he felt compelled or felt passionate about singing. So I did a pretty good job on that first album. I mean, I did an amazing job when you consider I had never really written a lot of lyrics. I just admit, I will say this, Naomi, some of the guys that I was writing with before I became the singer, I remember sitting in the room and like I'd have a riff or I'd have a little track, a drum program and bass and guitar on there. And the guy would start, well, what about this? And I would think, oh my God, those lyrics are terrible. Like, but I wasn't, it's like, well, he's got to sing them. He's going to sing them. If he can get up there and make that believable. And again, a lot of these guys were very influenced with MTV and, the Sunset Strip. And that was just, again, that was what was going on. It's like, okay, well, you're the singer, I'm the guitar player. You can
Mhm.
say whatever you want. I'm going to be over here shredding. And so that was a big transition that I had to catch up fast. And I don't know if I ever really did catch up on that first record, but I know this. That was the first album was the one that sold the most. And you know, now when I play with my band, my solo band these days, any of those Brother Kane songs that I play get a great reaction. The first album songs still, I mean, those they love those songs. The people do. So I guess it was definitely an accomplishment for us to tap into some quality music with no more experience than I had at that point as a singer and a lyricist. Yeah.
Is there an album track from those years that you would have wished would have become the single? Or
Oh my God.
a song that you wanted to see the light of day that didn't quite get there?
I can't believe you just asked me that, because my old manager is still one of my best friends to this day. And we have said it really since the late 90s. We're like, you know what, we made a mistake. And that was after Got No Shame became so successful at radio. We came with a song that was super catchy. It had a big chorus. It was kind of undeniable, but it was a little fluffy lyrically. And especially at that moment, Naomi, there was another song on the album that was called How Long. And How Long was addressing, you know, we wrote it inspired by the events around the Rodney King beating and the riots and what happened to us as a country at that moment, you know, for that event to be televised and the impact it had on all of us, regardless of your skin color. You know, we were so angry and just like, we couldn't believe that would happen. And we really wrote a powerful song. And, you know, this wasn't a co-write with some outside writer. We wrote it as a band. I remember us being in that room together and talking about what we'd seen on television, and everyone was very affected by it. It was such a powerful lyric. And I just think it was of that moment. And I think if we could have come with How Long after Got No Shame, maybe we could have made that transition into some of the alternative radio stations who ultimately never really touched us, Naomi. You know, from a business standpoint, that was what made it so hard for Brother Kane. And that's really why we weren't able to continue, is because, you know, we got tons of radio airplay, but those stations playing us were basically classic rock stations that played new music. So they would play the new Brother Kane and the new Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and then they would play the bigger grunge bands. They had to play Nirvana and Pearl Jam, but then they'd also play the new Van Halen, the new AC/DC, the new Billy Idol songs, stuff like that. The alternative station across town was not playing that. It was all Pumpkins, you know, Nine Inch Nails, you know all the bands. And we just couldn't crack that. We couldn't get our foot in that door. So I don't want to in any way put down the fans that we did accumulate and the people that did really like Brother Kane. We just weren't getting them in big enough numbers. And we weren't getting that younger crowd that was very, you know, focused on what was essentially new music, a new sound, and a new thing. And I think if we'd have come out with How Long after Got No Shame, I absolutely think it would have made a difference. There's no way of knowing, but I believe strongly that it would have been a better, I think it would have made some of these alternative radio stations feel better about, okay, well, now this band has come out with a second album and they have this song And Fools Shine On, which is perfect for all of our stations. You know, we were so kind of set in stone with the direction of the band. And again, we were their competing stations property, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
You never know at the time when you think, you know, you're exactly, you don't know what would have happened, but you make the right decision that you feel is the perfect one at the time.
Oh God, we felt great about it. You know, we
Yeah.
felt great. It's like, again, God No Shame goes to #1. We're starting to release the second single. Robert Plant wants to take us out. You know, the golden god, the greatest, you know, lead singer of all time. We're like, all right, things are, we can't be stopped. We can put out anything we want. So, you know, and then you start letting maybe the radio promo person decide what the single should be, or you're letting the, you know, the product manager or the label president have an opinion about that. They don't really know who we are as people. They don't know what we stand for. And we certainly weren't thinking about those things when we're writing and recording. We were just guys that wanted to rock and drink beer and get on stage and go on the road. And that was all happening. So we were certainly very happy. Maybe a little aloof to some important things, but yeah. Oh, to be young, the naivety of youth, Naomi.
Oh, what a beautiful time it was, though. Like, and then eventually, as the time goes on, like you said, you've done so much more. You became Alice Cooper's guitar player.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing.
Now this is stuff I find in Wikipedia, and we know that's not always accurate. So correct me if I'm wrong about anything.
No, listen, that's very accurate. It's funny. My kids are obviously older now, and they're pretty good themselves. They'll go to Wikipedia and they're my guardians. They're like, all right, let's make sure this is correct information about the old man, you know, because anybody can go in there and modify that stuff. So
True.
Yeah, the last time I looked at my Wikipedia, it actually was kind of impressive. I was like, wow, did I do all of that? But yeah, you're right. I did. I joined Alice Cooper in 2004. And I worked on a couple of my own original music projects over the next 7 years, and came in and out of Alice's band once within that time period. But I did about 5 years with Coop, and it was incredible. And then I left Alice in 2010 to join Thin Lizzy.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, huge Naomi. Thin Lizzy had occupied massive real estate for me, especially as a guitar player. But Phil Lynott, you know, the frontman and songwriter, and Lizzy, I'm grateful that I was such a fan of that band, because I'll always believe with confidence that his lyric writing and his poetry was kind of trickling in, you know, to certainly my listening. And, you know, that was having an effect on what I told you earlier about writing songs with some other singer. And I'm thinking, wow, those lyrics are not really great, you know, because I'd go get in my car to drive home and I'm listening to Phil sing, you know, Emerald or Black Rose, or Got to Give It Up, or Dancing in the Moonlight, or even The Boys Are Back in Town. What an incredible lyric. You know, those, he was one of the all-time greats. So for me to join Thin Lizzy, are you kidding me?
Wow.
It's amazing. And I'm still a part of Thin Lizzy. The band doesn't do a lot of touring, but when when Scott Gorham, who's, you know, he's the lone original member, you know, he'll call me and go, hey bud, I'm thinking about, let's go out and kick the tires. I'm like, let's go. All right. Whatever dates I have booked, I'll move them and we'll make it work. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Awesome. It's awesome. And, you know, and I think right now, I mean, you and you're talking to me about all this stuff at a time where I'm just super focused on my solo career, Naomi.
Yeah.
You know, I've
what's going on with the solo work? I'm really excited to talk about that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thin Lizzy kind of morphed into another band And that band was called Black Star Riders. And what Black Star Riders was, it gave us a chance to write new music that sounded like a bit like the style that Thin Lizzy had developed, the harmony guitars, the more poetic rock lyrics, great lead singer in the current Thin Lizzy and Black Star Riders, Ricky Warwick, proper songwriter, a real talent. We just didn't want to put out records and call it Thin Lizzy, because it's not Thin Lizzy. You can't have a Thin Lizzy record without Phil Lynott on it. So that really got me back into writing and thinking creatively. And so the second Black Star Riders record was produced by the current legend, future legend producer, Nick Raskulinecz. And Nick's resume is insane. Alice in Chains, Foo Fighters, Rush, Mastodon, Hailstorm, Velvet Revolver. It's just ridiculous. So he lives here in Nashville, where I moved to Nashville in 2013, met Nick the next year, and through some crazy happenstance, he produced the second Black Star Riders record. So I'm in Lizzy. We're also doing Black Star Riders. Nick calls me one day. He goes, "Hey, man, do you have any songs?" Because Nick liked Brother Kane. You know, he remembered, he loved Fools Shine On. That was what he really loved, that song. He's like, "If you got any songs, man, just come down. Let's record something." And I'm so grateful for that, Naomi, because that was, I think I'd kind of put my solo thing, it was almost more like a hobby. I hadn't really looked at it like, all right, I should step on the gas with this and really try to move it forward. So Nick produced an EP for me that had 5 songs on it that I put out in 2016. And I've put out another solo record every 18 months since then.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, Nick has been such a pivotal part of that. Put out a solid record 2.5 years ago called Memoirs of an Uprising. I produced it myself. Nick was busy. He couldn't, he literally had Alice in Chains in the studio. And so he's like, "Man, you can produce it. Get everything you need on tape. You can use my room to track your drums. And then maybe I can mix it." And that's what happened. He mixed that record. And then my latest record, he did everything. He produced it. It was a big day when I took him the demos, and he got so excited, Naomi. Nick is such a taskmaster about songs. And I just knew, like, well, I'm not going to waste his time. I'm not going to show up and ask him to produce a record unless I feel confident that the songs are there. And that's how I felt. And sure enough, I played him the demos and he got super excited. And that was, I mean, that was as exciting as finishing the record itself, just to get Nick that fired up. So he's, yeah, he's played a huge part in what I'm doing now. And so the new album is called Battle Lessons, with my trio, by the way, the Get Ready, Damon Johnson and the Get Ready.
I love
and,
that.
yeah, so of course the pandemic put a halt on a lot of stuff for all of us. But the craziest thing happened this summer. You know, we're booking a few shows and playing as much as we can within the COVID restrictions. And, you know, we're committed to staying healthy. I got a call from my longtime friend, Ricky Medlock, the guitar player in Lynyrd Skynyrd. And he got me on a 3-way phone call with Johnny Van Zant, the singer with Lynyrd Skynyrd. And they told me that the original legend, Gary Rosington, the guitar player that started the band in 1969 with Ronnie and Alan Collins, had had a heart procedure. And, you know, Skynyrd was like every other band, big or small. There'd been no work for 1.5 years. They finally booked about 30 shows, and then Gary had this heart procedure and he couldn't tour. So Gary gave them his blessing to bring somebody in and continue the tour. What a thrill. They called me.
Wow.
I got my manager involved, their manager. So what has happened, Naomi, mostly in like September, October, and part of November, is I have filled in for Gary Rosington and Lynyrd Skynyrd on
Wow.
guitar on the big stage. And for about 12 of those shows, my band has been the opening act. Yeah.
I'm speechless. This is
I know.
incredible.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I did a handful of shows where I just opened by myself on acoustic. I would just come out with my acoustic guitar and sing and tell a couple stories. But in November we did 6 shows. The Get Ready opened. Amazing.
Mhm.
Amazing. And so it's really been exciting for me, for my band. And I'm so grateful to not just the Skynyrd band and management, but their fans, Naomi. Their fans have been so accepting of me, and in their way, they've been appreciative. They're like, "Hey, man, thanks for filling in for our boy," because the band wanted to play, the fans wanted to come and hear the band and hear those great songs, and so that's what we've been able to do. So it's just, we did our last show about 3 weekends ago, and it almost feels like a dream. It's like, wait, did that happen? So, I hope somebody took some pictures, because I'm not sure that really happened. That was wild. So yeah, it's really been an amazing year, particularly under the circumstances of COVID. So I just feel really grateful for that experience. Grateful that I was able to keep my guys working a little bit, and we're just taking that energy and rolling into next year. And I'm starting to write some more songs, and we'll see what we can get into in 2022.
That's huge. And I think that it's amazing that you've kept creative. And not only that, not many bands can say that they've had that opportunity during this type of year it's been, right? So
no, we're very, very fortunate. You'll laugh at this, because I certainly laughed. My manager, I called him and I said, "Hey man, I just got off the phone with Ricky and Johnny, and they want me to fill in for Gary." And look, that's a no-brainer. You have to say yes. Yes, I'm doing that. Oh my God, that'll be fun. Well, my manager, Kevin, he goes, "Well, let me talk to their guy, their management. And what we should do, Damon, is in case Gary can come back and play some of the shows or part of the show, we should have you and your band on the bill as the opening act. And it puts you on the property no matter what." And I said, "There is no way they're going to go for that." And he goes, "Just wait. I'm going to call you back." Sure enough, we hung up. 15 minutes later, the phone rings. I go, "Hey man." He goes, "Done. I got you 12 shows, 6 of them on acoustic, 6 with the band." I said, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "No, it's happening." It would have never occurred to me to say, "Hey guys, I have an idea. What about this?" I wouldn't have had the balls to say that, And so credit to Kevin. What a blessing, that whole thing has been. And I have older kids that's they're all functioning adults now, and they grew up on Lynyrd Skynyrd. They saw Brother Kane open for Lynyrd Skynyrd, way back in the early 90s. So all 3 of them were able to come to one of the shows somewhere and come and see it. And it was just glorious. It was so special. And yeah, it's been a really amazing year. And I'm just happy for everybody involved. And again, we don't know what next year is going to look like, but I'm definitely going to keep working hard. And like I said, I got some new songs, and just going to keep, the goal is to just keep doing what we love, Naomi. There's no like, well, I need to make this kind of money, or I need to sell this many. You can't sell CDs anymore. So it's like, what are your benchmarks? For me, the watermark is, hey, just keep doing what you love and work hard, and all that other stuff will take care of itself.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's so true. Have you, no, you're in Central. So are you, where are you based out of now?
We live in Nashville.
Yeah.
I was able to stay in Birmingham that entire time, all through the 2000s, all through the Alice Cooper thing. I was still in Birmingham when I joined in Lizzy. And then in 2013, my wife Linda and I and my two youngest kids, we made the move up here to Nashville. And it's just been such a positive thing. I knew musicians here, I knew some studios here, but I could have never predicted meeting Nick Raskulinecz. Marty Fredrickson lives here now. We still hang out and write sometimes. He's got an amazing studio. So, I've played with all these great musicians over the years. And when I started kind of putting the word out, well, hey, I'm gonna get my solo career, I'm gonna focus on that. Some of these guys would call me, hey man, if you need a drummer, I'm your guy. And I'm like, well, but you live in California, dude. You can't. No, you have to live in Nashville to be in the Damon Johnson band. That is a prerequisite. You have to live in Nashville because oh my God, the money that we spent in Black Star Riders, flying people literally from different continents just to have band practice. It's like, no, dude.
We're not doing that headache again.
No way, no. And in a way, it sort of feels like Brother Kane, 360 degrees back to, because all my guys are here. We got a place that we rehearse. I got a great team. My manager lives here. My booking agent just moved here from California. So literally all
there.
Damon Johnson Incorporated, everybody's here in Nashville. So I love it. I really am just proud that it's worked out like that. It feels really productive.
It feels like home, and it feels right being there.
Yeah, 100%. We love it. We really do.
It's been so nice hearing these stories, and like, you're just such a good conversationalist. I absolutely love chatting with you today.
Well, Naomi, thank you for that. Listen, I'm grateful to you for reaching out, and it's that's another great thing about working with Kevin, my manager. He really had me update my socials and my website. And he's like, look, man, there are real people that are going to want to contact you and talk to you, and they need a way to do that. And so kudos to you for doing whatever research you did. You came right to the right source. So thank you for that.
Beautiful. And thank you for your time too. I know you're probably very busy. And are you very active on the social media? So like, Twitter and Instagram and all that?
Yeah, I was kind of late to the Instagram thing, and now it's my favorite platform for the same reason everybody loves it, just photos and videos and stuff like that. So my Facebook and my Instagram are the same. It's official Damon Johnson.
Okay.
And then I'm on Twitter, and that is Damon J Official. And then my website is, I still can't believe that I own the whatever you call it, the URL.
.com?
DamonJohnson.com. I had a friend, I'll never forget him calling me. It was like 99 or 2000. He goes, hey man, you need to pay for this. I'm like, why? He goes, trust me. He goes, trust me, you're going to want to own this. I said, okay. And it was like, no, listen, none of this stuff was happening back then, but credit to that friend, because he was right. And so I went to literally to GoDaddy.com and okay, DamonJohnson.com is available. Send us $27. And got it for 3 years or whatever.
Because what'll happen? It's a name that will get bought up because people are just buying them up, and then it'll cost you thousands of dollars to get it later.
Oh,
isn't that crazy?
I'm so grateful for it. You search Damon Johnson. There's a lot of Damon Johnsons out there. There's some professional athletes. There's some insurance salesmen and guys that have big successful businesses. And I apologize to those guys. I'm sorry. There can only be one.
You got it.
I'm sure they're sick of, people go to Google and they type in their name. They're like, man, there's some long-haired guitar player. That's not you, is it?
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. Well, kudos to you, Naomi. Thanks again for having me. This has been a lot of fun, and I love the whole concept behind your show. And the '90s was one of the greatest decades of all time. It was
Amen to that.
it was seismic culturally, and I am still moved emotionally by artists and songs that were written in that time period. Some of the greatest music that will stand the test of time. Those songs will be around long after we're all gone. So it's you know, a thrill for me to be just a footnote in all of that. It's I'm grateful.
And it's a thrill for me to share your music with all these people that you know, we're looking back and reminiscing, but sometimes you can get new fans. You never know.
Listen, you never know when you're going to get new fans, Naomi.
Yeah.
At my wife's encouragement, I got to show you this before we go. So, of course, after the crazy activity of the last 3 months, she was smart enough to go out and get me some Lynyrd Skynyrd guitar picks.
Yes.
And offer them up on our website. So you can go to damonjohnson.com and get a Lynyrd Skynyrd signature guitar pick.
That is sweet.
Just in time for your holiday, your Christmas stocking stuffing. And you know, again, of all these people I've been talking about, I'm so grateful for Linda, my wife. She just crushes it. And you know, we've got the new album on vinyl and on CDs, and we sign all that stuff and send it out. And it's just fun. We love having a little mom and pop operation. It's so much fun, and I'm crazy about her, and she's been really good for me in so many ways.
That's a beautiful thing. Oh, I'm
Awesome.
so happy for you.
Thanks, Naomi. Listen, I hope we get to meet in person. Where are you, by the way, before we go?
I'm in Edmonton, Canada. So I'm like in the Western Mountain Time.
Great. Well,
yeah,
Linda, her dad's family is from Detroit, and then they lived in Southern California forever, but she's a lifelong hockey fan.
Nice.
She is the single biggest Wayne Gretzky fan on the planet. Like, watches every career retrospective, sits on the couch just sobbing, you know, gets emotional. Our youngest son plays hockey, and Gretzky came to Nashville like 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
And he did a little private signing for the youth league hockey team, and somehow Linda got our son Gabriel in, and we have this insane picture of Gabe and Wayne Gretzky together. So
what a huge moment.
No, it's huge. So you're in Edmonton. Come on.
I am. This is the one place on earth he cannot walk down the street.
No, he is.
I cannot. He can't do it.
No, he is Mother Teresa, Muhammad Ali, the Dalai Lama, the Pope. Jesus Christ.
He has a street here. We have a freeway named after him, and
as you should.
As right? We should. There's a huge statue of him outside of our arena. Like, wow. It's serious business.
We hope I hope we can get to Edmonton. I think Brother Kane came to Edmonton one time way back, you know, in the 90s in our travels. But Canada was good to us. Canada was really embraced Brother Kane, Naomi, especially Full Shine On. We got tons of airplay up there. We played up there a few times.
Very popular here.
And we got to be friends with the guys in the Tea Party, the guys in Big Wreck.
Oh, I love Big Wreck.
Yeah. Ian, oh my God, what a talent. What a talent. Yeah. Amazing guitar player, singer, songwriter, total package.
Yep.
As soon as we hang up, I'm going to go, oh, I should have mentioned this band. But hey, I'll leave you with this one. I forget the circumstances, but one of the last runs we did in Canada playing some music halls, our opening act was some band we'd never heard of called Nickelback.
Shit.
True story. True story. Yeah, so sometime in the early 2000s, Nickelback played the big amphitheater in Birmingham, and I went down there, and I happened to bump into Chad. And I was shocked he even remembered who I was.
Mm.
And we walked out to the monitor board and watched some of the show. That I forget who the opening act was, but he goes, man, it was so much fun, that tour that we did with you guys. That was killer. And I looked out at this packed amphitheater, you know, and I said, I don't know, bro. I think this is a little more killer right here. This is the real killer. And he laughed. He's like, yeah. He goes, I'll never forget that, man, playing with Brother Kane. So that was special for me to hear him say that. And, you know, those guys have just had so much success, and deservedly so.
I'm a huge fan of you. Thank you again. Like you're
Thank you, Naomi.
awesome. And
well, listen, let's talk again. Let's give it let another little bit of time pass by, and we'll see what else we've done.
Yeah, we can catch up and update everybody on what's going on with you. That'd be awesome.
Well, thank you again for having me on, and good luck to you, and happy holidays to you and your family. And
thank you.
Hope our paths cross very soon.
It'll be out this week. I'm gonna put this one out as our 100th episode. See?
Oh wow!
I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Well, you take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.